Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, you should hear.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, it'll take about 10 seconds.
here in person or watching online, it is good to be with you this morning. It is good for all of us to be together. As we gather together this morning, let me share with you some words from Elizabeth Barish Brown. From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another. Generation to generation, we awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without the spark. A life cannot begin without the air. And we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. Come, my friends, with our hearts to both the challenges and possibilities that this new day and new week bring. With our hearts to all that inspires, sustains, redeems, and transforms us. Come, let us worship together.
Here I sit, watching the sun as it slowly rises in the sky. The air is clear, the day has just begun. Birds are singing as they're flying by. I know I don't know birds that well, but they always seem to sing about love. I really wish that they could tell how it looks like from above. Here I go, I'm on my way. I am searching for a song that makes me smile. The sun is clear, the birds are out to play. They are singing and I listen for a while. Well, I don't know birds that well, but they always seem to sing in harmony. And it sounds to me as they would tell what it feels like, how it feels like to be free. Now I sit watching the moon, and I think of all the love I try to hide. The nightingale sings its favorite tune. It doesn't need to share our foolish pride. Well, I know I don't know birds that well, but they always seem to sing about love. If we listen, maybe they could tell how it feels like up above. How it feels like to be loved.
What a fun and uplifting song. Thank you. The flaming chalice is the symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the liberal religious tradition to which this congregation belongs. Will those of you who are here in person please stand as you are able for our chalice lighting. If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light it with me at this time. As we kindle this flame, we recommit ourselves to nurturing the spirits of one another and the common good of the world we share. May the light of this flame be welcoming to all who seek a liberal religious home. For those of you already standing, I invite you to remain standing for our opening hymn. Our opening hymn this morning is 347, Gather Thee Spirit. When I left, the U.S. and Canada were in overtime in hockey, so please don't let me know who won the gold medal. Hopefully the U.S. Hi, my name is Chris McPherson, and I'm glad to serve as part of your worship team this morning. Whether you are a first-time visitor or a long-time member, I'd like to offer you a special welcome. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Raleigh, we are intentionally inclusive, liberally religious, and actively serving the common good of our shared world. Whoever you are and wherever you are on your own religious journey, you are welcome here. This morning, one of our lay ministers will be available in the front right corner of the sanctuary after the service to talk with anyone who might be experiencing any difficult circumstances in their lives and would like to talk to somebody. I hope all of you will read through the chalice you received by email on Friday about everything happening here around UUFR, or check out the upcoming events section of our website. Our in-person social hour this morning will be downstairs in Founders Hall. If you are new this morning, you are especially welcome to join us, and I'd like to remind everyone to please make special effort to say hello to anyone new. I now invite you to meet and greet your neighbor. Continue the conversations down at coffee. Is that on?
We can turn it on at the end.
Okay. All right, thanks, folks, and we can hopefully continue those conversations down at coffee this morning. I don't think this is on. Hello, hello? Yeah. This is the time in our service when we acknowledge some of the joys and sorrows of our community. We do this because we believe a joy shared is a joy made greater, and a sorrow shared is made easier to bear. As Holly Thompson's friend and former colleague, Mike Dowd, passed away unexpectedly on Valentine's Day. Holly and Mike worked together closely on many projects in 2 different companies, and he leaves behind his wife and 4-year-old daughter. He was a gentle soul and a brilliant engineer. May we keep Mike and all who loved him in our thoughts. Amanda Wyant's mother is having breast cancer surgery this upcoming week, and she asked that we keep her in our thoughts. This morning we wish all of our Muslim friends Ramadan Mubarak, or Blessed Ramadan. Ramadan began last Tuesday. We all also wish all of our friends who celebrate the Lunar New Year, which also began last Tuesday, a happy year of the fire horse. As we hold these shared joys and sorrows in our hearts and reflect on the joys, sorrows, fears, and hopes of our lives, let's be together in stillness and in silence, opening ourselves to that spirit within us and amidst us, called by many names but known to every human heart, that leads us to a fuller, deeper, richer experience of life. After the silence, we'll sing hymn 402, but now let's be together in silence and stillness.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Russ Outcall, and I'm a member of your board of directors. I'll be downstairs at social hour after the worship service if you have any questions you'd like to ask me about the board, any concerns you may have, or just to say hi. And I'd like to take a moment now to talk to you about our generosity campaign and why I plan to pledge again this year. One of the things I love most about UUFR is our social justice activism, especially the commitment to environmental justice. Since 2018, I've been active in the Environmental Justice Ministry team, which has been strongly supported by our leadership and you, the members of this beloved community. And I'm going to share with you a backstory of our solar array, which is helping to defray half of the electricity requirements of this building that we're worshiping in right now. This demonstrates, I think, the way that this congregation lives the seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of life, of existence, of which we are all a part. Now, one of the first projects that the EJMT undertook was this solar array for our campus. We started working on this back in 2019. And back then, there was an exciting opportunity to lease, for churches to lease solar with a company called Eagle Solar and Light. Sadly, that doesn't exist anymore, but back then it was really a nice way for nonprofits to get solar. But in spite of the generous leasing terms that were available, the system that we needed here at UUFR was still a significant financial commitment with a fairly long payback period, but it did have a payback period. You may remember that the fellowship then was not in the strong financial position that we are today. So we didn't know if the board was going to be able to take on an obligation such as a lease like this. Nonetheless, Scott Alexander, the Eagle representative, and myself, we got our figures together in our presentation and made our pitch to the board one evening in November. And we based that not just on the economics of the solar array, but on our UU principles. We had the opportunity to fight climate change right here on our campus. We got some pretty tough questions that night, and when we walked out of the meeting, Scott and I, we didn't think we'd won the day. But by the time I had driven home, I got a text message from Jim Van Kirk telling me that the board had unanimously approved the project. And I knew for sure then that I was in a very special church and the right one for me. But environmental stewardship here is not just our solar panels. We have a composting program that has diverted over 38,000 pounds of organic waste from landfills. We have replaced most of the HVAC systems on this campus with efficient all-electric heat pumps. As a result of these investments, we have reduced our carbon emissions 50% since 2018. Yeah. And that's you guys. We have been a voice in our community, hosting prayer chains for the Earth Day celebrations, and lobbying our legislators. We've held stream cleanups for the last 3 years. We were the first congregation in the United States to receive UUA's Green Sanctuary 2030 recognition. And last summer, we had 20% of our membership attend the Climate Justice Revival last July. I am so proud of what we have all done together with your support. This fellowship puts its money where its values are. And that is why Lynn and I will pledge to support UUFR as generously as we can during this year's stewardship campaign, and I hope you will too. If you haven't already signed up for a neighborhood meeting, please do so. The link is on our website, or you can find it in the chalice. And if you've got nothing to do at 3 o'clock this afternoon, you can come to our house in Holly Springs. We still have slots. And the link is, as I said, you could also just take your pledge cards and return them to UUFR by March 31st. So thanks. So that's the story of the environmental effort here at UUFR. It is now time for this morning's offering. If you would like to make a contribution in person this morning, we invite you to bring it forward and put it in one of our offering plates. If you would prefer to have an usher come to you, please raise your hand. And you may also give using one of the methods that will be shown on our screen. Our offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Both Reverend James and Reverend Carey are away from UUFR this morning. Our guest speaker this morning is Caleigh Grogan. Caleigh is currently the intern minister at the Community Church of Chapel Hill. She grew up as a Unitarian Universalist in Bangor, Maine. She has spent most of her adult life in Massachusetts, first working in student affairs and interfaith engagement at Wheaton College, and then earning her master's in divinity from Harvard Divinity School. As a lifelong New Englander, Caleigh is excited to be experiencing church life and culture as another part of this country. Please give Caleigh a warm welcome to UFR.
Thank you. It's good to be with you this morning. Our reading today is the poem Small Kindnesses by Danusia Lamaris. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by. Or how strangers will say, "Bless you," when someone sneezes. A leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we're saying. And sometimes, when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them and for them to smile back, for the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire. Only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy? These fleeting temples we make together when we say, "Here, have my seat." Go ahead, you first. I like your hat. Here ends our reading.
is written in the trees and flowers. It's written in the wind and the rain. Recorded in the rock and sediment and sand. It's written in the glory of the far-off sun, and also in the very near, inscribed upon the palm of every open hand. You can hear it in the thunder, you can read it in the stars, you can find it under every leaf and stone. On a page wide as a prairie, there's a message large as life. The gospel isn't written in the Bible alone. The gospel is painted onto fins and scales, it's ruffled into feathers and fur, it's spun into the seashell's deep and sacred scroll. Behold it in the voices of the birds at dawn, composers of the Song of Songs. Discern it in the acts of every living soul. Every pebble holds a proverb, every spider spins a psalm, every seed's a resurrection of its own. On a page wide as a prairie, there's a message large as life. The gospel isn't written in the Bible Imagine now if you were God, setting forth the gospel for all your worth. Why would you settle for a single book when you could write the gospel on the whole wide earth? The gospel is moving over darkened seas, it's working in the change and the flow. It's written in a tongue we long to understand. We marvel at the beauty of the poetry encoded in the chromosome and braided through the length of every twisted strand. It is molded into muscle, it is whispered into breath, it is carved into the curve of every bone. On a page wide as a prairie, there's a message large as life. it surely isn't written in the Bible.
Thank you for that. We make fleeting temples which house the divine. In the small moments of connection with strangers, a shared smile, or an offered seat, we encounter the holy, our reading imagines. What I like about this idea is how it highlights for me the absurdity and depravity of things like war and violent occupation. Ending another's life is like burning down hundreds of thousands of temples, cutting off the possibility of infinitely many encounters with the divine. It feels like such a straightforward spiritual truth to me. Unitarians and Universalists have been speaking out against war and conflict since their beginnings. And I doubt anyone here needs to be convinced that they should be proponents of peace. But by the nature of our diversity of belief, we may all have various reasons, various deeply held truths that lead us to advocate for peace. There are many faith-based arguments which undergird different people's peaceful convictions. To name just a few, God commands, "You shall not murder," in the Hebrew Bible. And Jesus in Mark 12 says, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." There are some who believe that harming another living thing accrues negative karma. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "You cannot enter into heaven until you believe, and you will not truly believe until you love one another." And there are understandings like my own, where we are all expressions of the same great source of being, and harm to one is harm to all. While I think these are all compelling and worthy reasons for and perspectives on peace, they all hinge on certain kinds of belief. Beliefs about God, about the divine, about the human soul. And not everyone holds these kinds of beliefs. One of the things I love about Unitarian Universalism is our ability to learn from multiple truths, to find inspiration in many sources of wisdom. Our reading this morning points to another one of those sources. The poet writes, "We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire, only these brief moments of exchange." She seems to be pointing to an earlier stage in human development, a time before mass communication and the sense of global community brought about by international trade and the wonders of the World Wide Web. She's drawing our attention to the history of human evolution, in which there is an anti-war message as moving to me as any religious argument. But before I delve more into a humanist reflection on peace, let me make clear that when I say we, I am talking about us here in the triangle, who, for better or for worse, work within these large, often anonymizing systems that discourage human connection. We know that there are people across the globe who are not so far from tribe and fire. People who have retained tight-knit communities and foregone many of the technological changes of the modern world. And I would be remiss not to mention one of the more painful and difficult aspects of our Unitarian Universalist history: how some of our spiritual ancestors engaged with the science of biology and evolution. Some Unitarians and Universalists, excited by the idea of ongoing evolution and driven by a desire for the betterment of humankind, were advocates for eugenics. And before them, some were advocates for separating indigenous children from their families because of the harmful belief that the European way of being in the world was somehow more evolved. I think it's important, whenever we engage with the wisdom of evolution and scientific discovery, that we acknowledge our history and do our best not to repeat it. So as the poet points out, in this day and age, we have become so isolated from one another. Or more specifically, we've become insulated from our dependence on one another. You can get just about anything you could imagine delivered to your door without ever talking to another person. We can Google all of our questions and feel connected to the goings-on of the world without ever leaving our bedrooms. We are systematically discouraged from recognizing our interdependence. It is no wonder that the myth that we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps persists when those who are the most selfish, those who exploit the greatest number of people, end up with so much power and influence. We are steeped in this capitalist ideology which values profit over everything, certainly over human lives. We see this play out on the largest scale as this country continues its shameful legacy of warmongering to control more and more of the world's resources. And this all seems to be normalized and legitimized by this strange reading of human evolution, where survival of the fittest means that it is perfectly natural and human to claw one's way to the top. That caring about the success and well-being of others is actually some kind of weakness. Now, I'm no scientist, but my understanding of human evolution is that a very long time ago, over a very long period of time, we developed the characteristics to become human beings, and they were things that supported greater and more complex social interaction. What made us the fittest for survival were characteristics that supported our big brains. And we were using our big brains not just to be the cleverest or to get one over on each other, but to figure out how to manipulate our environment together. How to use tools, how to take care of one another, how to plan for the future, and to conceptualize other people and places and ideas outside of our immediate perception. Compassion and cooperation are certainly not exclusive to human animals, but it does seem to be where humanity put the majority of its evolution points. We did not evolve and stake our place at the top of the food chain by being the strongest or the fastest or the most ruthless animals. We got here primarily by being the best at working together, by being able to support one another in the most complex ways. It's amazing how easy it is to lose sight of the fact that we were made for one another, that we evolved specifically to work together. It is for this reason, among others, that the logic of war and violent nationalism is simply incomprehensible. I often struggle to wrap my brain around how things could be going so wrong on such a large scale. How we as a species can continue to act in ways that are so antithetical to who we are as human animals. Especially now, in the face of escalating violence, both here and across the globe, I take more comfort and hope from the moments described by the poet in our reading. When a stranger says, "Bless you," or holds a door, makes any small gesture that reminds us we are in this world together, that we were not made to encounter it alone, that mostly we don't want to harm each other. Putting an end to large-scale violence and war requires an immense amount of organizing and advocacy and direct action, but it also requires an overall increase in our individual capacity for peace. We must conduct our lives in ways that promote greater peace. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously preached, peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but the means by which we arrive at that goal. Now, I am not here to stake a claim about nonviolence as the only appropriate path to combating injustice. I don't know if some level of violence might be required to protect ourselves and others, to create a more just world. But what I do know is that moving through our day-to-day existence, one way to create peace in the world is to create peace in our lives. The systems and ideologies that support the global war machine may seem big, and they are. But another part of the equation is that at every level, behind every decision that is made, every missile that is sent, every border that is cruelly enforced, there are people not so different from you and me. People, human animals, who somehow have managed to live lives that brought them to act against their own best interest as human beings. Imagine if they encountered enough people who believed differently, enough people who modeled kind and loving ways of relating to the world, that they could no longer act in service of the machines of war and domination. We all have the power and accompanying responsibility to make this a more peaceful world. And while that can be a heavy burden to bear, it's not always so hard. We do it all the time, through infinitely many small kindnesses. May we remember the rippling impacts that these kindnesses have, especially on our bad days, when we feel rubbed raw by the cruelty of the world, when the kindness we deserve is hard to find. Let us lean into our animal nature, using our words and deeds to remind one another where we came from. and that wherever we are going, we won't get there alone. Blessed be, and may it be so.
That was great. Thank you, Caleigh. Will you please stand as you are able for our closing hymn? Our closing hymn this morning is Coming Home. This hymn is not in our hymnals, but the words are up on the screen.
I want to leave you this morning with these words from the Reverend Jim McGaw, who writes, "When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Blessed be, and go in peace."